because it's going to be a beautiful day today. The things that we're doing, I want to make sure I got everything in check. We are broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Instagram. So we got all those platforms going on right here, and I am enjoying every last bit of it, getting things together. It's been rough. I'm not gonna lie to you. We say something on this show, next thing you know, we're having issues. I'm having issues. Like, Grandma used to say, "If somebody mad at you for saying something, the truth hurts." She is so right about that. The truth hurts. So, without further ado, we got our man right here, Mr. Joseph Lee. How you doing, sir? Good morning.
Doing good, Konnichiwa. Doing good over here in Okinawa, Japan. We had a typhoon warning today.
Really?
So, uh, yeah, no, I'm sorry, it's a tsunami. Let me get this right.
Oh,
We haven't had, it wasn't a typhoon, it was a tsunami warning. So, there was an earthquake, I believe, in Thailand, I think it was, and pretty significant one. So we had the warning, and I'm telling you, if you ever want to get your blood racing, to get a tsunami warning, and try to get everything together to get to higher ground. But fortunately, we didn't get hit with this thing, but it definitely changed the course of my day.
yeah.
So just, my condolences to those affected by the tsunami. I think it hit more toward the Thailand area, but God is still covering and protecting, and thank God for that. And
Yeah.
just amazing seeing the city and the area, kind of kicking action and sirens going off and everything. I have to admit, man, anytime I see sirens or whatever, I start looking for Godzilla. I do. I still think Godzilla gonna show up. Yeah, when you're little, that's all you knew of Japan. You know what I'm saying? But it's definitely a lot more to the country than those mythical characters, but beautiful environments, and just really cool to see. How people react to different environmental challenges and things of that nature. But I will tell you, animals they have a little instinct.
Yeah.
We have a pet dog over here. This dog was not having it today. He just was not chilling out, whatever. And that's one of the reasons why I knew something was amiss. So I was paying attention to that. But
Yeah.
so I think everything all's well that ends well. We didn't really get hit with anything. I think there's like 1 meter of water that came our way, so very much able to handle that. So thank
Yeah.
goodness for that. But congratulations, man. I believe congratulations in order. WSN Radio's in its new, beautiful setting, professional setting. So I know you did a lot of work with that. To the hackers that hacked, we're still back. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? We're gonna keep moving. I don't know what's going on, but you know, we're gonna talk about some other things today and focus on some other things. Because one thing, I've been saying to Ron and a couple of my colleagues is that, I think, we have been talking about mental health. Shout out to my boy, one of my brothers, Battles. Jay. We were talking about this. People that are whoever they're voting for, they've kind of. I don't think there's really much debate that's going to happen. We're just going to sway people's mindset. I think people are entrenched in what they want to believe at this point, right? So
Yeah.
I think we need to shift our focus to just getting people out to vote. The majority of people just out to vote. I think the right party will prevail if the right person, right candidate will prevail if the majority of people get out and vote their conscience and vote their mind. We'll leave it at that. But one of the things I want to talk about today is, dealing with the main issue I think that's addressing everybody, which is stress. It's National Stress Awareness Month. So I figured we would deal with the mental health portion today and just, kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about what's known as the 4 A's of stress management. And one of those that we can talk about is relevant is first one is avoid. So what are you avoiding? You're avoiding intentionally stressors, overwatching the news, stressful people that, add a lot of drama to your life and situations. You're going through a lot of stress right now. The world is going through a lot of stress. Wherever you look,
Yeah.
there's some stressful situations going on. So one of the things about Japan is that you can find peace pretty much everywhere, even in a typhoon warning. It's still a beautiful environment. You know what I'm saying? And there's
Yeah.
no typhoon that was coming, but there was still beauty everywhere. We're safe. So just avoiding stress is the first one. The second one is alter, and these are all A's, right? So avoid, alter, adapt, and accept. So we just want to avoid, avoiding problems, avoiding, stressful people, stressful situations as much as possible, right? And also learning this powerful word that a lot of people don't know how to say, which is no.
Yes. I
It
mean,
sounds so simple, but it's real easy to get caught up into things and get caught up into situations. But one of the things you have to realize, one of the things I'm realizing is when you're dealing with stressors, some of them, could be health wise, could be family wise, could be work wise. When you're dealing with a stressor, you're not supposed to function at your normal capacity. You're supposed to prioritize and deal with what you have to deal with first, and then address the others in priority. So that means you have to prioritize to be successful. As a therapist, I've worked with some pretty um, high functioning folks, CEOs, corporate folks. And the only way they can function at the level they are is they have to prioritize what they're going to do daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, whatever the goals are. And then when things happen, they have to reprioritize, based on what's going on. So we are all the CEOs of our life, all of our practices, of our families, and you have to look at what you're dealing with, prioritize, and then learn. When somebody tries to put something on your plate, say, hey, no, I'm full. I got
yeah.
maybe next time, come see me in a week or two or three or whatever. Um, the other is, avoiding people that stress you out. There's just people that always have stuff going on. I know some folks. So if all my listeners out there, all the listeners to the show, you got some people on your phone. When that phone rings, your reaction is, you know, you know. And if
Yeah.
that's the reaction, then they have this little thing in most phones. It's called voicemail. Let it go there. And then call them back when you can deal with whatever potential stressor that they have.
Yeah.
Then we've got altering. You have to alter your perspective. Instead of dreading something, maybe say, you know what, I'll be so excited when this is over, or I can't wait to get done with this. So you alter your perception, alter uh, your view of a particular thing. If it's something you have to do, don't stress over it. Just get it done. You're wasting energy stressing. If it's something that has to be done, knock it out. And then look forward to after it's done, and how good you're going to feel afterwards, alter your perspective, and make it happen. Adapting.
Mm.
I've been living that for the past 7, 8 months now, adapting to a new culture. I had to adapt pretty quickly to Japan, right? Driving on the other side of the street, on the other side of the car, and it takes you kind of relearning and rethinking. And I'm really glad that I've had this experience because when you relearn things, it strengthens this thing up here. It creates more neurons, more pathways. As we get older, it's harder for us to adapt to new situations. So try to find some things, read some books, get out and exercise. One of the things about stress is it has a tendency to kind of lower your functioning. It causes you to, your higher level functioning, your reasoning to decrease, your panic, or exactly what happens is cortisol is released into your body. And for long periods of times, that can cause a lot of problems. It can cause your body to have hypertension. There's links to cancers. There's depression. There's a lot of things that can go on with the hot with a lot of stress and ongoing stress. So learn how to adapt. Learn how to take a minute, process your environment. Don't, whatever's going on, stressful people, stressful situations, try to figure out ways to avoid or minimize those
Yeah.
stressors. And the last one is just accepting things. Some things we can't change, you know. That's one of the times those of us that are Christian or have some religious foundation that allows us to accept things a lot better, or actually pray for God to help us to accept certain things that we can't change, and just to understand that He's got a plan and we're just following it, right? Either way, so it's easier to accept it if you understand that God's got a plan. You order it, and hopefully your steps are being ordered. And you're trying to follow the plan that He has for your life, and you may not understand it, but what's that old song that says you'll understand it by and by? You
Yeah.
know, uh, you know, that's all we can hope for. Like there's a lot of things going on in the news, and I hear about that. I don't really understand it, but maybe I will by and by, right? So
Yeah.
I want to encourage people to manage their stress during this month. There's a lot of resources out there. I just looked at US. This came from USDA.gov, the 4 A's of stress management. There's also 3 C's of stress, the 5 pillars of stress, Stress Awareness Month, looking at awarenessdays.com, looking at different ways and cures and ways of dealing with that. Meditation, learning how to breathe, deep breathing. There's a lot of different ways,
Yeah.
but let me give you a hint. One of the best ways to de-stress is cut off that cell phone, cut off that TV, and just relax and enjoy your peace of mind and that quiet. I know that might sound crazy, but just listening to some relaxing music. So there's different calm apps out there. There's different things you can listen to meditate, clear your mind. Don't constantly be going and going and going. You have to take a minute I'd say every day. If you don't take at least 5 minutes to clear your mind, do some deep breathing, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you can't find 5 minutes in the day to do that, I think it's time to reevaluate that first thing I talked about and say no more often.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to say no to yourself. No, I'm not going to just rush on to the next thing. I'm take a minute, and as my wife always says, smell the roses.
Mm.
And I'm glad she taught that to my daughter. We all every time she
Yeah.
goes past flowers, ever since we were a little, she was a little kid, my wife has said, "Hey, she'll stop and we'll say, smell these flowers." We did it just the other day. We went to a restaurant and they had a beautiful bouquet out there. And, we may have my daughter smell those flowers, and it's a symbolic thing, but it's also a life choice thing. Smell the
Mm-hmm.
roses, take a moment and slow down and enjoy the blessings that God has put in front of you every day, because you don't want your life to just be that blur on your tombstone,
Yeah.
and you missed everything. Right. So that's my mental health moment for the day. We got that out of the way,
Moment.
and wanted to see what you got for me. If any questions or anything came up that we need to address
Oh,
early, not at the end like you normally do too.
well, I'm glad you said that because I always set up Joseph for the ending of the show. We go another 15, 20 minutes.
That's right. I'm mixing it up today. I'm not
Yeah.
going over tonight. I got to go to bed. So
The question I got from a young lady by the name of Courtney, with mental health. She said she is taking care of somebody with mental health issues, and she
mhm.
just said, "Is it contagious?" Because she said she find herself doing some things that same person is doing. Want to know, does she have her mental health? Is she, other words, she said, is she picking up on the person that have mental health? And I guess the way she put it was, here it is. She put it, am I picking up on mental health, and do I have mental health while watching somebody with mental health? Because she feels herself sometimes, how she spiraling downhill sometimes.
Well, I think that's a very first of all, thank you, Courtney, for your question, and it's I'm trying not to laugh because sometimes you think that mental health can be contagious, like a virus, right? Because you
Yeah.
see people that are crazy, and then you see a whole lot of other people are crazy. Like, man, are they drinking the same tea? Are they smelling? Is there something in the air or whatever? But typically, you don't think of mental illness as contagious in a way, but in a way it is, right? If you're taking care of someone, and they have it's difficult to manage that person, manage that situation, and manage your life. I wouldn't say mental health is contagious, but your mental health can be compromised because you can become overwhelmed. I know this for a fact because I took care of my grandfather for like 15 years, and I didn't realize how much of my life had been consumed by caring for someone who was progressively uh, get, getting dementia that progressed to Alzheimer's. And I had thank God, a social worker they came by and looked at all the things that were going on and asked me this question. It completely threw me off. They assessed, I think a shout out to Gerontology Network in Grand Rapids, Michigan, who sent out some resources and sent out this social worker that said, hey, you doing a great job taking care of your grandfather. You've got, food arranged and people coming to cook and, home health aid and all that type of stuff. You're arranging everything. But when was the last time you went out on a date or when was the last time that you even had some time yourself? And I literally could not think of at least a weekend I just took off to myself.
Yeah.
And this had gone on for years. So, at that point I realized that, hey, man, I'm kind of, putting a lot of stress on myself that I need to get some help. So make sure that you have some help in helping whoever you're helping. There are agencies usually that are out there. There's home daycares, depending on the level of care that is needed. But you've
Yeah.
got to make sure that you take care of yourself if you are a caregiver. Because if you are a caregiver, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to maintain uh, taking care of someone else. And that's just, analogy I always say is that when you're on an airplane, when you hit turbulence, what do they tell you to do? They tell you to put the oxygen on yourself first. And
Right.
that's for a reason. That's for a reason. So, is mental health contagious in the sense that if someone else's mental health is contagious, the short answer is no, but in a way, yes. If it causes you not to take care of yourself, then you better believe it can be. It can lead to depression. It can lead to anxiety. It can lead to stress, cause your life to get unmanaged, and that can open up to a lot of other mental illnesses and addictions, drinking, whatever. All kind of things can happen when your life is out of whack and out of balance because of being overwhelmed. So hopefully that answers that question.
That's a good answer because when you sitting back and you taking care of somebody, um, you get overwhelmed, and
Yeah,
then you start thinking, why am I doing this? I mean, should I be doing this? This is not me. It's like your lifestyle change, stop and change when you have to take care of somebody like that. There's a process that you go through it, and you trying to figure out. Then you sit down when you do have that 5 minutes, like you said. It isn't a positive 5 minutes. A lot of people sit back and say, "Man, what did I get myself into? Why am I doing this?" And then they get stuck in that rut. You
yeah.
know.
Yeah, it's easy to do because when you're taking care of someone, you don't really usually it's because you care about that person, is a person that is a family member or whatever. So you're not thinking about, how much you're doing. It just has to get done. This
Yeah.
person has doctor's appointments, they have hygiene, they have food they have to eat, they have exercise they need to get, they have to, you know, watch some TV or stimulate their mind somehow. You start doing all that day in, day out. They have to be protected, right?
Yeah.
From people that take advantage. Because let me tell you, there are predators out there that love to try to take advantage of seniors. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you see it all the time, and I witnessed that. Had a guy try to sell my grandfather windows, and I was power of attorney. Told the guy that, hey, we're not interested. But I came home from school one day, college, and this guy was trying to sell my grandfather windows, and my grandfather didn't know how to tell him, he let him give him his little pitch. And the guy was like, hey, I'm going to get these. My grandfather's talking to me, so he's going to make the decision. I'm like, dude, my grandfather can't sign for anything. I have to sign for it. Time for you to go, you know. And then once he finally got it, after wasting, I don't know how many hours, my grandfather was just sitting there talking to the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
when you gonna get these windows? He's not getting the windows, man. I'm like, get out of here, scram, you bum. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not getting a sale today.
Well,
And you try to be nice at first, but there are people out here that will take advantage of seniors, and that's people that call, and try to get information, and you hear about the people that pretend that they have a family member that held hostage, and they got to sell them, give some money and all. It's a lot
right.
of mess. You end up becoming a protector, uh, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, caregiver, and then you look at your life, and you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
what is my life? My life is being this caregiver. You know what I'm saying? And it happens. It happens very easily and very quickly.
Yeah, I can see that because um, I'm a senior. I'm a very seasoned senior. But people will come up to me like they sell your data to other people with age, and you get all these phone calls coming in. Oh, you could do this, you could do this. How old are you? I say, why? I start asking questions back to them. I say, why? Why you want to know how old I am? Well, we don't know if you qualify. Apparently, I must qualify because you called me. And I give them a hard time. Well, sir, this is not how this works. I said, yeah. And my favorite line is this. At the end of the conversation, I asked them, have you heard the latest click? They tell me no, and I hang up. You
Well,
know,
see, Ron, you saying old school, man. It was a comedian that said these new phones, you can't hang up like you used to be able to. You know what I'm saying? Like,
break the
you
phone,
used to be able to
bam.
slam the phone down, bam, or somebody. Now all you get to do is hit the button and
Yeah,
whatever. But
end
I'll
call.
tell you, I need to get a promotion for this, but we might need to contact Robo Killer. But I'm gonna tell you, Robo Killer is my friend. I pay that, what is it, 50, $60 a year? You need to write that off on my taxes, doggone. But anyway, so I pay that 50, $60, and I screen a lot of these calls, from coming through. So my those calls like that, the sales calls,
Mm-hmm.
they don't come through hardly as much. I think they've gone down about like 80 to 90%. Sometimes they get slick and get like a personal number and
Yeah.
try to call you, but then once you identify that, so since I'm in a different time zone, I get these calls at crazy times anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't recognize the number, or if it comes up as a sales call or a scam likely, which they need to go ahead and pass some legislation. If it's going to be scam likely, they might as well not even let that call go through. I
Yeah.
mean, who actually picks up the scam likely calls? You know what I'm saying?
And
So,
then on top
uh,
of that, what makes it bad? There's Dave from India, and he spoofed a call that's over here at 2:10. You pick up the phone and hi, and I said, "Where are you from?" Well, this is Dave. You don't sound like a Dave. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be racial or anything, but come on, your name is
right.
not Dave Smith. And you're not calling from San Antonio. Where are you calling from? Well, I'm in India. I get them to say where they from. I said, so why do you use a 210 number? Then it gets quiet. And then
Of
all of a
course.
sudden, there's silence. They don't hung up. you
Yeah,
know?
because they're trying to catch that senior
Yep.
that Courtney's taking care of. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to catch them up. So it's I don't know, man. I really don't have time. I keep my 616 number because I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and but through my other home, San Antonio. But I got a 616 number. I got the 210 numbers, when I'm in San Antonio.
Yeah.
But now I got this Japanese number, So people call, if it's a business call, it goes to voicemail so I can screen it. Because when you have a business and as you get older, you get some interesting
Oh,
phone calls.
yes,
So
you do.
I'll tell you, you gotta, listen, check your accounts daily,
Yep.
check your information. We won't go into too much detail, but I know it's crooks out here. You
Oh,
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And they will get your information. They will take advantage of you. And we are in a technological age. I'm gonna tell you something too, and I'm gonna have to be honest. I've had my account compromised a couple times years ago. This is a lot of years ago, but and I figured out how it was happening. I used to subscribe to satellite radio,
Yeah.
and I don't know what happens at satellite radio, but every time you get hooked up with satellite radio, within a year or two, I was having some money, incorrectly pulled out of my account, or some foolishness going on. So you got to just be really careful. Make sure your bank has um, precautions and measures that if something isn't right, they flag it and contact you,
Yeah.
and make sure find out what that protocol is, and make sure you have some protections, or credit cards that, won't hold you liable unless it's you
Right.
that's making the card. So I think Discover Card has some things like that, and other cards out there. So
I turned
man, we're
around.
giving financial tips and everything, man. What's
Yeah.
going on?
Well, I turned around. I was compromised and I got it all taken care of. But
Outstanding.
a few years ago, compromised, and this is how smart the person was. I got to let him know how smart he was because he's probably still locked up. Um, Turned around, used the card in Florida. I get what I'm going to say, people. You're going to laugh out of this, to pay child support. And I said, don't he know he's busted? You paying child support with somebody else's card. Oh, it didn't take long for them.
Right, but
It didn't take long for them to find him.
well, Ron, at least he tried to do something noble with it. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
tried to. He tried to go to jail one way and went to jail another way.
Another way.
So,
So, that's blatant right there. Come on now.
goodness, man. I don't even know what to say to that.
So,
Since we're talking about, I don't know if I'm gonna tell this story, but so I gotta tell it now. I started. So when I was in college, my wallet had dropped out of my bag or whatever, and somebody got my ID, and they tried to pretend to be me, and they actually, gave the information to somebody else who I guess didn't have citizenship, right? And they were working under my ID, but they had just changed my name slightly. And I got, so I went down and I found out that, there's somebody was using my identity and all that. So I went down to the police department, and I had to admit, it wasn't really much help, right, at that point. They were just like, okay, here's what happened, whatever. So I said, okay. Well, it dawned on me, if it's me, why don't I have access to me?
yeah.
So I called where I worked because they actually filed taxes. And it came to my address. So I called the place where I was working, which I wasn't working at that place or that city. And I let them know that if they don't let the person that's using close to my name go, I was going to call ICE.
Yeah.
They quickly stopped using my information and figured out what was going on. So when I told the police department what I did, they actually told me if I get my identity stolen, we're gonna call you, because that was, they didn't even think about doing that. But you got to think outside the box, man, when you're dealing with a criminal element or whatever the case may be, especially. But yeah, I kind of felt bad. The guy was trying to make a living, He just
Yeah.
went the wrong way, went the wrong way with the wrong person because, you know, that's just how that went. But fortunately, man, it's some crooked folks out here, man. You got to be careful,
Well,
and that is stressful.
yeah, it is. Talking about being stressful. When I was managing some laundromats, um, the police had called me saying I need to come over to one of the stores because there was a break in. And as soon as I got there, the cop said the guy had been mental. I said, "What you mean? Look what he did." I said, "What?" He tore up the whole back door to get in, like it was in a rage. He said this guy was really upset or something, and he stole your safe. And I started laughing. I said, if he's mentally right now, he's really gonna be real mental when he opened up that safe. He said, why is that? We stopped keeping money in there 2 years ago. So he had an empty safe.
I wish I could have seen that face
Oh
when you
man.
open up and say,
And then the police said, yep, he's gonna be mentally deranged once he opened up and sees nothing. I said, yeah, he is. But they caught up with the guy. They found the guy, and yes, he did have mental issues. They said he did. He was homeless, and I don't know how he lugged that safe. That safe was heavy. So,
"Hey,
but
he was strong.
yeah, but
He was eating something. He was doing
yeah,
something out there."
but people they see now. I'm switching gears back to on the homeless. Um, when they get desperate, they do things in desperate ways, and it's just that one time fix they're gonna have, but they may have a lifetime in jail for doing that or whatever. And you said it best that there's not enough beds for mentally ill people, especially in San Antonio.
Well, and I hate to say it, but I almost think it's not by design, but in a way it kind of is because the only way that people can get help sometimes is to commit a crime, and then they'll get a bed, get a place to stay,
Yeah,
for the weekend or whatever until they can be released or whatever. And unfortunately, I think there's a lot of people that commit crimes because they need shelter,
yeah,
or they have mental illness, and that's just how that plays out. But we got to. I think we really need to deal with the mental health crisis in the United States in a way of making sure we have adequate places in major cities like San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, not just in Texas, but, I don't want to come down just on Texas, any major city, we need to have those resources available because that's where you see people are coming up, missing. There's all kind of, crazy things that are going on.
yeah,
People with suicidal, homicidal ideation. And, like when you're, like you said, when you're hungry, you're homeless, you're gonna do whatever you gotta do to eat. You gotta do what you're gonna do to survive,
right.
right? And we gotta do what we can to kind of help in those situations. So I don't have all the answers with that, but I do know that, other countries, you don't see too many homeless people walking around Japan. It's the third largest economy in the world. What are they doing? It's a mindset. We have the ability in the greatest country in the world, the United States, to make a difference, but we have to change our mindset. But the difference I see over here versus in the States is that the whole country has a consciousness of who they are, meaning that everybody's connected. If you're Japanese, there is a sense of community for the Japanese. Why we don't have that as Americans to the extent that, even though we come from, different backgrounds, different ethnicities,
Yeah,
you know, the term American should mean that, we're part of a republic. We should care to a certain extent for everyone. But when you start talking about that, then we start talking about, oh, you're talking about socialism and all that. No, we're talking about humanity. We're talking about taking care of, the lowest, rung of the socioeconomic ladder. And that can happen quickly because, as I said earlier, look at, a lot of people think that they are so far off from being homeless, but mess around and get sick and don't have adequate insurance
yeah.
in the United States. I recently had surgery and it cost me a whopping $60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. 60. I'm sorry, no, it cost me $300 for everything. But for all the initial tests and things that had to be done, it was $60.
Yeah.
Now you try to get that done in the States. And that's the problem. If you have adequate, affordable health care like Barack Obama tried to do and had to go through HE2Ls, to get laid that out. But it's still, we have a long way to go. Look at, we're still talking about, I don't know, did they pass the law on insulin? For folks that, I know that we
Yes.
talked about it for a long time,
It
and I was
is.
trying to track it.
They
They did pass it?
they capped it at $35 if I'm right.
Outstanding. So that's a step in the right direction. But what about all the other medications? What about all the other procedures that, could be capped at a realistic amount? I just had a surgery that I know would have cost thousands of dollars in the States, but it cost me $300. Now, why is there such a markup?
Greed.
You know,
I'm gonna say one of your words, greed, and,
you,
and
hey,
um,
you, hey, greed. Hey, what's the problem? Greed, fear, and phobia.
mhm,
I mean, there's no reason. So, people are homeless a lot of times because they end up that way. Matter of fact, we used to call it when I was in financial services one of my many careers ago, before I figured out what I wanted to be when I grew up. I found out that when you have to go on, what is it, Social Security, you can't really have too many assets. You have to spend down pretty much all of your funds before the government will help cover your expenses. Now, think about that. You work your whole life, you try to have a house and all that type of stuff before Social Security kicks in.
mhm,
You got to be pretty much, you know, almost homeless. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like
yeah,
before, So think about it. Why do we have to break people all the way down to nothing before the government has to kick in? We're the only country, I think, that I know of that moves like that. Now, there are other countries like Japan that don't have, they don't have like a welfare system, but they have an overall community approach to dealing with things. Like you're a part of a network, a group of people, and they look out for each other.
yeah,
But they can look out for each other if bills are like $300 for a surgery. Yeah, you can help each other out. You can you know help each other. To make it, even though the average income is so low. It's just a different mindset. So, I think they raised the minimum wage up in some areas here recently to what, $20. An hour.
yeah.
But then they're already saying that they're going to increase the price of the
Other
food
product,
and all
yeah,
that type of stuff. And that's like, okay, I get it. You got to make up for the margin, but really, I'm not trying to be funny, but $20 an hour in this economy, I mean,
well,
how,
but
how and I think this was out in California.
yeah, Texas is still at 7.25 an hour.
And what's $20 an hour going to do for you out in California?
Oh, that cost limit is high out there in California.
Hey, shout out to the people out in California. I don't know how you did it. I don't know if your parents had money, your grandparents had money, or whatever, and you just got out of college and got to a six-figure income immediately. I don't know how you
Yeah.
all do it, but hats off to you, listeners out in California. But the wage is higher, right?
Mm.
Um, but still, so is the expenses. So it's kind of,
Ooh,
you know,
ooh,
balances out in a bad way out there. I mean, but hey, California is a beautiful place. I just don't understand the cost of everything. But
yeah,
again, this is not for me. It's not for
yeah.
me to understand.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Ray's Printing, Coco, Jill B, Trina Four, Veronica. Who we got? Miss Page out in the Carolinas.
Hey,
That's just on Instagram, and I'm checking all the other ones. So everybody chiming in. I like that. So to get it,
outstanding. Well, hey, welcome. Thank you for listening. Send in your comments, questions, your mental health. Hey, listen, I'm not charging nobody for this advice right now. So, go ahead and, I like to get back to the community of the country. as well as my individual communities I came from. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about some of these things. I do want to talk about something too that I'm seeing with the youth, and I think this has to be talked about. One of the things when I was working in the schools in Texas, it was a lot of the youth I was working with online. I don't think people really realize the effect that COVID and the 2 years that we were kind of locked down had on kids, on teens, right? And just think about being detached from school for 2 years,
Yeah.
um, what that did to social skills. And I think we need to, collectively, parents need to look for opportunities to get their children, their teens, into activities where they can function and be social with other teens. It's really an issue. We need to get them away from these electronic devices and get them into activities where they can do FaceTime with other teens, where they can communicate, talk about issues that are going on, things that are going on in the school. Talk about why it's important to vote. How I'm watching the news. In the mentorship group, I'm a captain. In our guide right program, we have our teams watch news on the local, national, and international level, and then also talk about those things, be able to speak intelligently and write about those things. And we've got to. You'd be surprised how many students are planning to go to college but don't know how to write.
Mm.
And trust me when I tell you, you don't want your child to be learning APA format in college. They need to know that before they get there. How to write in APA format. They need to know how to articulate their ideas in writing as well as vocally and be able to speak. I mean, they're going to have a job interview. They're going to have to know how to articulate when something is wrong with them to somebody like a therapist, or people implode or explode. And, you don't want to have a child that is academically on point, but socially, you know, far behind. And
Yeah.
I think that is what's happened for a lot of teens. So another social mental health point is that, as well as social point, is we got to get our kids talking. We got to get them off the video games every night. I think when I first started, when I came to therapist about 15 years ago, one of the school programs I was at, they had this thing called family talk or table talk, where every night you sit down with your teen, talk to them about their day, talk to them about what's going on. They know that this is their time to tell you what's kind of going on. And we saw a drop in back then. The issue was teenage pregnancy and
Yeah.
drug use, right? We saw a huge drop in teenage pregnancy. We saw a drop in drug use, things of that nature. You wouldn't think that teens wanted to talk, but if given the opportunity, they will. And a lot of the teens actually said they loved the change. At first, they were hesitant, they were resistant, but then, they came around. So, and started really opening up and communicating and, having kind of that safe place in the home where they can talk. So I
Yeah.
encourage folks to try to do that when and where they can. Just something simple you can do instead of going dispersing through the house when it's time to eat. Find a central place, talk, fellowship, get back to some of those old values that worked. We had a lot of
Yeah.
things that kind of worked back in the day. We didn't even know the value of it until now we don't have it.
See, well, you hit a point there about teens talking. Some of them, the problem was nobody was listening to them when they talked. They said, "So why should I talk? You're not listening to me," and that's part of the adult and the parents' um, problem. I'm gonna say a problem because you have to listen to your
Mhm.
kids because they see things in a different way, and some of the ways they see things can help you out on how they see things. If you sit back and watch everything going on, and if you look at it, there's been a lot of teenagers. There's been some great inventors. There's been a lot of teenagers that start their own business that don't even have to worry about anything because they started a business because they seen something out there that was in a need. But we have to sit back and listen to the teenagers because that's our future.
Listen, I'm very encouraged with a lot of the things I hear once I actually talk to a lot of the teams. I also have to admit I'm kind of concerned about some of the things
Hmm.
I hear because some of the things that they talk about, like most teams, there's not a grasp on reality, you know, because reality is different for a lot of teams that came up through the COVID era, you know. But one thing I will tell you is teams, um, they're cut from a little bit different cloth now because they've been exposed to a lot more than we were at that age. You know, the information highway, I mean, they're on it all the
Hmm.
time. The problem is a lot of times they can't separate information from wisdom, and that's where the problem is coming from. You know, and also the other problem is, you know, they've got this fake, it's a fake world. This thing here, you know, this phone, it's not a real world. And too many real decisions are based on fake, filtered images and emotions. You know, and when kids are dealing with real things, depression, whatever, there's not a TikTok video that can address that. You know, there's not, you know, when you talk about depression, you talk about, you know, especially when you talk about not just depression, but violence. You know, you see
Yeah.
all these, you know, they have this expression a lot of the kids used to say when they go and sock somebody, they want to say world star and they go hit somebody. Well, they don't see what happens to that person. They just hit somebody when they catch that court case or they get arrested or, you know, somebody that guy gets up and he goes and gets a weapon and comes back looking for him. You know what I'm saying? You see the world star video, but you don't see the effect of the world star video and other things. They've got other things on World Star that these kids are putting their images out there in ways that I know they are going to wish they had not done, you know, in years uh,
Yeah.
ahead. And you know what they don't know is, and what a lot of teachers and well, not teachers, a lot of parents don't know is that colleges are starting to look at a person's social history background. And I've talked to admissions counselors that have told students that we have admitted people to college and then pulled their admissions based on something we saw online.
Yeah.
Agencies now that's what they do. They can't afford to have somebody on some of these campuses with firearms or trying to front like they're a drug dealer or their hood and trying to go to the college. Look, you got to make a choice. You got to make that choice early on. Are you going to be somebody who's going to destroy their future before they get a chance to build it? And unfortunately, a lot of parents are giving their teens the tools to destroy their future when they're actually
Hmm.
thinking they're helping them to build it. So, be careful with the social media. The statistics are out of what social media has done in terms of anxiety and depression and suicidal ideation, and it's not good. So, if you are going to give a child social media, then you just made your job exponentially harder because you have to be the CIA, the DEA, the FBI when it comes to what your children are doing or being exposed to on these devices.
Yeah.
And some people call that helicopter parenting. I call that, keeping your kid from going to jail or or doing something stupid that's going to stop them from getting a job down the line when they're putting something out there that's going to be a permanent stain on their reputation and character.
When you said that, I thought that one commercial that I seen when this young man told his mom, "I'm a man now, 'cause I go in and out anytime I want." She said, "Fine, okay." Turned around. He said, "What's this here? Since you're a man, here's part of the bills of the house you need to pay." He just looked
Yeah,
dead. He didn't know what to say after that. That was a commercial saying to me what I got out of it. Say if you and you still in high school, you're gonna tell somebody that you grown. You can't tell them what to do. All right, here you go. Here's some responsibility for you.
yeah. On my website, I have this presentation called a GPS presentation. It's a patented presentation. But the whole focus of that is to let teens know where they really are. Because unfortunately, what I noticed is through the years of working with teens and working with kids, is that they're kind of in a delusional state. You know, we've been paying for them to go to school for how many years, and they have people there preparing food for them, and they get to come to school sometimes wearing $200-300 tennis shoes, and all these nice clothes, and some of them aren't even getting good grades.
Yep.
So in their mind, they've already succeeded. So what's a job to them? The world is being handed to them, and all they have to do is pretend to give a minimal effort. And then when it comes time to actually afford the things that they're used to, their hands are tied because they don't know that mom and dad had to climb mountains to get these opportunities that they're just kind of squandering. So, I dare say if your child isn't getting all A's and B's, they shouldn't be wearing Jordans at all. Because the reality is they're not going to be able to afford them.
Yep.
Unless they're going to live in your house for the rest of their life. You're
In the
going to continue to buy
basement.
them
In the basement.
in the basement somewhere. Because you are creating a basement dweller or a permanent bedroom tenant if you're buying Jordans and your kid is not getting good decent grades. So I
Right.
know I'm stepping on a couple parents' toes right now, but
They'll be all
I'm gonna
right.
tell you, telling you how it is, how a TI is, as one of my favorite comedians, Bernie Mac, used to say.
Yeah.
If I don't tell you the truth, I'm basically gonna be creating clients that it breaks my heart to see, you know, because you know I grew up in the town, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I also grew up in Flint, and in Flint, people were coming out of high school making $20-30 an hour working in the plants, working in gym and all that. Well, when
Yeah.
GM started shutting down, these kids got used to wearing these, expensive shoes, clothes, and this, that, and the other. And when mom and dad couldn't make that $20-30 at the plant anymore, where do you think these kids turn to keep getting that money to get those shoes?
Undesirables.
Okay, so all I can tell you is if you don't teach them how to go and get it, and not everybody is going to go to college. I just saw something on the news, and not everybody should go to college. Some people should go to trade school. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with trade school.
No.
Nothing wrong with trade school. In fact, a lot of us need to have a trade. Think about it. You go to school for 4 years. You go to school for 6 years and not make six figures. You go to school for 2 years, get a nursing license, and make six figures almost right out the gate.
Yep.
I mean, we have to rethink what this education thing is all about. Now, I'm not saying, everybody's going to become a nurse, but what I'm saying is we should start looking at the end goal and look at how much money is in that degree you're about to invest in. And that's what was on, I think it was ABC News today, where they were talking about how now in some colleges, you would not believe how much the tuition is per year now, most in a lot of
Oh,
colleges.
it's
A
crazy.
hundred $100,000, well, actually $95,000 a year. Some of these schools are charging to go to school. Now, if you're going to school to be a teacher and you're paying $90,000 a year to become a teacher, I'm not a mathematician, but I don't think that's going to add up.
You could buy a
I
house and
just
a
don't.
couple of
That's what the
cars.
conversation. I think that's what the conversation was about. It was like we have to get to a point in this country where we rank the credits for the position that they're going for. Because right now the colleges are raking some folks over the coals. That's what I think we need to look at what jobs and careers you're going for before you could put that investment in. Because if not, you're basically assigning your child to decades of debt
Yep.
or your basement. one of one or the other. You know what I'm saying? It's not good enough
Yeah.
now that went out. in our generation where you could just go to college and get a good job. That's over.
Yeah,
Just
that's
because
what.
you go to college, you better pick that right field.
That's
Liberal arts education, good luck with that.
mm-hmm.
I had that degree, political science, liberal arts. Decided not to go to law school. I had to get out there and work. I had to figure out something. Then I had to go back and get my master's in counseling education, counseling psychology. Oh, click, there it is. I can get some money now.
There you go.
I can do something. I got something that I could really help people and I was passionate about and figured out. Now, they didn't have all these options when I went to my bachelor's degree. That's how old I am. I didn't think they had OPCs, back when I got my bachelor's, all of us were psychologists and my boy that was a psychologist, you know, he wasn't making that LA law money, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, my goal was I got to get to six figures. If I'm going to college, I got to get to six figures. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So whatever I went to college for, I had to be able to make a living, not just for me, but for my family.
Right.
So I can go with my daughter needs it or wants it, and deserves what not just that she wants it, but that I can go out and get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
But you,
know,
but
I've lived, a blessed life and had a lot of things coming up.
yeah.
Taking care of my grandfather, living there. I was blessed in that regard. So I felt it was my obligation to give my child the same opportunities I had. But guess what? Those prices went up significantly.
Ooh, who you telling?
I was still in the era where you could actually pay for your education. You
And
know what I'm saying?
and I did too, because I went to Texas State, and you talking about a trade. I was teaching in a trade school. I had the beginners of electricians. I taught electric stuff to everybody, how to do it. I had boards built to show them how to do everything. Them kids came out of that class, and they called Mr. Gordon. I got this job. I look at it and say, "Are they hiring?" They was making more than I was making. I said, "Are y'all hiring? I'll
Yeah.
come over there and work." But you're right. A trade school is something that sometimes trade schools are less than 2 years. But you go out there with a trade, and that's something
Listen,
nobody else could ever give. You go out there and learn that trade and make money on that trade.
listen. You can become a welder in 15 weeks. You can get something. Don't let your child leave your house without a trade or something under their belt. If they like computers, get them some type of certification in computers. I think there's like Google. What is it called? There's all kind of certifications out there
Yeah,
for computer. Google, I think different certifications you can get. Don't let them leave without some type of trade or something they can do. Because trust me, if they leave your house without something they can make money with, they coming back.
yeah,
Or they could be living some way that you don't want them to. So don't do yourself a service and get your child something they can work at. So
yeah.
you can, when they graduate and walk across the stage, you can celebrate you going on a cruise and you ain't coming back until until they, have a job. You know
You
what
be
I'm
going
saying?
around the world for a long time with some of these kids. That's your
Yeah, yeah,
third time
yeah. You
around.
might you might have to become an expat and travel like me, and let them know. Okay, you thought you had all the answers. You grown now. You
Mm-hmm.
go out there and pay your rent and pay some of these bills that I've been paying all these years, so you can see. But it's doing the kids a disservice if we
Yeah.
don't paint them that picture early.
The biggest,
You
the
know,
biggest
paint
surprise,
it early.
yeah, the biggest surprise I seen on my kid's face, because I told him if you're gonna go into where are you gonna get a job at, find out there's something that's in need all the time. It's gonna be around. When my son first got his paycheck, the first thing he said, "Dad, who's FICA?" I said, "Welcome to the real world." But I'm getting this an hour, and they took all this. Welcome to the real world.
Listen, FICA gonna be messing with you for the rest of your life. So that's a bad word. That's another F word
Yeah,
that is gonna be messing with you for the rest of your life. But man, you had me laughing because I remember the first time I saw taxes come out my check. I was like, what? this ain't
Mm-hmm.
cool at all. And I still feel that way.
Yeah.
Taxes, taxes take a bite, don't it? And the
Mm-hmm.
more you make, the more you take.
And don't
That's
do
the
no
craziest part.
overtime. Don't do no overtime. They kill you on overtime. Yeah.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, that's one reason why it's important to figure out. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Before you go to sign up for your first class, the first book everybody should buy. You don't have to buy the book. You go online, check out the occupational job handbook,
Yeah.
and take a look at the career that your child is considering, and if it's growing over the next 10 years or if it's going to be declining over the next 10 or 15 years, and look at the salaries.
Yeah.
People go into this education thing sometimes completely backwards. They get in it and then figure out what they are trying to do. You need
Right.
to know what you're trying to do before you get in it.
Yeah. Waste that time and you switch and switch.
Listen,
Coca just put
colleges
down.
love that.
Yo, Coca, you said college. Coca put in here in Europe. You go to college for free.
In some countries, you don't go to college unless they know that you're going to make it. I'm in one of those countries where not everybody goes to college.
Yeah.
You if you don't have the grades and don't have and then if you do, sometimes the country will help fund or pay for you
Mm-hmm.
to go to school. I went when I was at Michigan State. When I went there, I
Yeah.
had kids that were on a full ride scholarship, and their country was help subsidizing the pay, but they couldn't get nothing less than an A or a B.
Mm.
And as a pride thing, they better not get nothing less than an A.
Yeah.
Right.
See.
So I remember that was a wake up call for me in undergrad. I didn't
Yeah.
know that when you go to grad school, you can't get anything less than a B.
Yep.
That's just reality, right? So we really got to understand some things, and not everybody. And once I saw how much college is now, scholarships, you got to plan for this stuff, man. You
Yeah.
can't be sitting up here, thinking that it's just going to magically happen. You're going to be magically in debt for the rest of your life, trying to pay for this if you don't know what you're doing and plan it out. And
Yep.
make sure they understand it's not about the Jordans, it's about understanding and learn how to critically think and get as much information as you can while you're in here, and learn how to network
Yeah.
and getting those people skills. That's what school really should be about, and that's what it's about for some of these schools. You
Yeah.
know, so
You brought up some. You brought up something that said a lot of people. It's not college material, and I agree. That's why they have trade schools. That's an alternative. And people look at white collar and blue collar. I'm sorry, some blue collar workers make twice as much as white collar workers. So
listen,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the classification that you are. It's just
no,
you-
look, those days are over.
yeah,
I'm here to tell you, find out what your child has an interest in, is good at, and find them a skill, a trade, something they can do, fall back on
yeah,
while they're even going to school. Because the reality is, you need to have as many options as possible.
yep.
Because you don't want to be finding yourself in college. It's too expensive. It's too expensive.
It is.
But getting a trade, getting something to fall back on, or even letting that be the focus. Some people really could have saved a lot of money if they would have just did a little more soul searching and understanding what's out there before they jumped into
Yeah.
this business they call college.
See, I know your profession, Martha Rice profession. I know all that, but it was a time back when people went
Mhm.
to school for what you're doing right now. Back in the 70s and 80s, and people said, "Why are you doing all that? You're not gonna ever use that degree." And they would end up working in Wendy's and McDonald's because there was no call for that. Oh, but look at it right now. It sort of did about face, and there's a need for people like you and Martha, Craig, and your whole team out there. And nobody would have realized back in the
Yeah.
days that this will be as much needed as nurses are.
You know, I can't remember my buddy's name, but when when I ended up going to Western, he was going to be a psychologist, and I was like, why would he want to do that? Like why? He was only gonna be making, I thought, like, 30, $40,000 a year. And I was like, man, my grandfather was making more than that, back before he was, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
But then, and the crazy thing about it was I was always interested in psychology. I had a choice of my minor being in psychology or communications, and I had one credit, and I could add a minor in psychology, and it should have triggered that's something I'm interested in,
Mm-hmm.
but I just really wasn't. It didn't take until my master's till I saw the significance of it, and I understood
Right.
because things change. That's why that book, the Occupational Job Handbook, is so important because it will show you the trends 10 years down the line. And if it's expected to grow, that means that there's going to be opportunities in that. So obviously, mental health, people are coming to me now, teens are coming to me now, and they're like, man, I want to do what you do, Mr. Lee, and I'm
Mm.
like, cool, let me tell you how to do this.
Yeah.
And let me tell you how to do it and make money at it. You know what I'm saying? As well as make a difference. And that's really why you get into psychology. If you, yes, you can make a lot of money now in psychology. You can make decent money, but you don't get, if you're going into psychology to make money, you're probably going to not enjoy this field because you can make money, but people that know that you're in it for money, it's not going to grow. You really want to make an impact,
Yeah.
in people's lives and change break the generational curses. That's actually what the concept for impact came from. I saw people that were having, repeating trends and generational curses. So impact came from the concept of I wanted to break generational curses. I
Yeah.
wanted to have an impact in lives and that myself or the people I work with have an effect on their lives. And that's what the goal is, and that's how you grow. And you have to really understand what you want to do in this profession. Nobody's gonna, once you get your degree, they're not gonna come with the $100,000 bag and say, here you go.
Yeah.
You have to brand yourself. You got to master a particular part of psychology and, move
Exactly.
forward.
Exactly. I tell you, yep. I'll give a shout out. We got a few more listeners that join us. Tony, haven't seen you in a while. My son, Mr. Nappy, DJ Nappy, is on here, and we got Veronica, a Martha,
Hey,
not our Martha, but another Martha from North Carolina. I'm getting quite a
hey,
few people
Martha.
from on North Carolina has been on. In Colorado Springs is on. Vanessa out in Colorado Springs.
Hey,
So
what's going on?
you know, just want to give them a shout out for getting on here. Just listening to um, what we're saying out here. We're just trying to help everybody. That's what we're doing out here to help. Um, Joseph Time is here. See, by the way, for those of you who don't know, Joseph's over in Japan. It's almost midnight over there.
It's
So
10:37, and we're about to
10:37.
get off of here.
But I just appreciate everybody tuning in. This is something we do once a week at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here, the Impact Hour, and there's a lot of impact on here. It's a lot of things that people are scared to talk about that we will. We
Okay.
will talk about it. And a lot of people say, I can't. And sometimes when I get off the show, people will say, I can't believe y'all said that. I can't believe y'all said, well, believe it. And one thing Joseph always say, we challenge anybody on anything that we say. We challenge you. The number is 210-461-8034. We challenge you to I say if we're wrong about something, clarify it. It's open book for you. I know you agree with that, don't you,
And if there's
Joseph?
any topics that you want to talk about,
Yeah.
feel free to call in and we'll put that together for you. I do presentations. My team does presentations. As soon as I can reprioritize and get some things going, we're going to get a workshop going with the team and all of us do professional presentations on mental health issues, things of that nature. So we're gonna start rolling some of those things out as soon as we can get all that time lined up and get everything going. But there's a lot
Yeah.
of need. People, us folks of color, we have a lot of things that we need to discuss. One of the biggest lies that we've all been told is what happens in this house stays
Stays
in
in
this
his
house.
house.
And unfortunately, that's one of the biggest lies that we told because it doesn't just stay in this house. It goes into your children's households generationally. It affects other folks, and we have to start, dealing with our stuff so that we can move forward and heal, deal, and thrive. So
Yeah.
that's what this is about. So I take this time to do that because it's important. I take this time because it can't just be about the money. It's got to be about making a difference. So that's what we really want to do. And, so if there's something you want to talk about, something we can get into, we can give you some general things. We're not going to have a clinical session ever here on on the show, but we can deal with some issues and kind of point you in the right direction and dispel some myths. But other
Yeah.
than that, man, I'm going to end with our catchphrase. Your actions speak so loudly. I can't hear a word you're saying. I listen to the words, but also I pay more attention to the action. So,
Right.
Ron's been doing some amazing things. Keep up the good work. Welcome and congratulations to that new station. And let's keep doing what we do. And
Yep.
thanks to all the new listeners. Shout out to North Carolina. I used to be stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So shout out to Columbia down there, Fort Jackson. Shout out to my hometown, Grand Rapids, Michigan, as well as to my second home, my new home away from home, which is San Antonio, Texas. My Veronica, my brother Glenn, the Navy guy that I'm cool with down over there. He could have been Army, but he chose the wrong. He went to the wrong office. That's all. He just
That's
went to
a
the wrong office and
that's a
he stuck
story.
it
That's
out.
a story all by itself. One day we'll sit down and
Yeah.
have Glenn on it, and you walk. See, I'm the instigator out the group. I'll get
Right.
them
There you
started, and
go.
I'll walk away. And Veronica looked at me, Ron, what you say? I don't know, but they going at it over there.
And we always have fun, man. I always, it's a brotherhood, and
Yeah.
we all work together. And and actually, let me tell you something. Glenn is the one that redesigned my logo. That beautiful, impact logo you see back there. That phenomenal professional imagery, one of the best in the business. So Glenn Brooks, give him a shout out. Visual Verge, they will hook your business up, take your vision to the next level. My
Yeah.
website, you see that there iccsmi.com. He hooked that up, and he does amazing work. So as
Yeah,
well
he
as
does.
his beautiful bride, my friend and sister Veronica, check out her book, The Warrior Within.
Yes.
We about uplifting. For those of you who've gone through church hurt and trauma, and we got to get Craig back on here soon to continue that next phase of that. But what you guys want to hear, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about things from our perspective. Let's talk about things from an American perspective in terms of mental health, and let's talk about it. Because I'm gonna tell you something. Regardless of who's in office, we're gonna need to have some conversations about stress management, mental health, and how to get past this delusional state that we have found ourselves in and
Right.
get back to reality. Like you said, back to life, back to
Back to
reality.
reality.
We're gonna hit some soul to soul. Hey, play that soul to soul, man. Once I leave.
Okay.
Put that on, man. I think we need to get back to life and back to
Back to
reality,
reality. Yep.
worldwide. So I'm gonna show my age and throw that soul to soul. That's it. And then y'all listen to Optimistic too by Sounds of Blackness,
Yes.
and that'll help
Yes.
you to get your mind right.
There you go.
So that's all I got for you tonight.
All right, Joseph, appreciate it. Tell your wife and your daughter said hi, and
Will do.
can't wait to see y'all again so y'all can buy me that dinner. I'm just kidding. I'm just messing with you.
Hey man, y'all, hey, you got it. You got it, man. You let me. Matter of fact, I'll be there soon. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to go hang and get something to eat. I love to eat, so
Yeah.
that's no problem.
Yeah. All right, man. You take care and look out for that little ripple in the water coming your way. That tsunami. All right.
Yeah, man. I think I'm gonna go ahead and sleep through that. So I'm
All
good.
right. You take care,
All right,
brother. All right.
all right. God bless.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bless. All right. All right, everybody. That was Joseph Lee with Impact Counseling and Services. We've been doing the show for almost 2 years. Yeah, for almost 2 years we've been doing this show, and it started off and then just took off. And so we appreciate everybody who tuned in today on all the platforms we have. We're live on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Instagram. So everybody just take care. We appreciate it. We're going to get back to some good old music again and just do what we do good here on WSAN Radio. And I'm just, let me see if I was going to try to find that soul to soul, but